I think Washington, this might even be a push. This might end up a 3-point game.
Missed it! And the Huskies survive!
I don't even know why North Carolina is 3.5 favorite. You might as well put 9.5 for North Carolina.
1st and 5. He goes down again. For the 3rd time, it's Kamen Rucker.
One of my favorite games to watch. DJ Uiagalelei. That's my man. I'm sticking by him. I love Oregon State defense. I'm taking Oregon State all the way.
They're going to lose.
You got to be kidding me.
DJU. Over the middle, it's caught. It's Spelling. It's touchdown.
Hello, everyone. I'm Obi-Wan, and welcome to the All Four Downs podcast, presented by Clovercrest Media. And it's going to be a fascinating one. I'm going solo. Hopefully, Joe will show up maybe momentarily, but I know he has other things going on, and hopefully he comes quick. If not, we'll see him next week with his final whistle. But for now, let's go review of what has happened in this past weekend in college football. And we're going ahead and start here. I'm first down with the game of the week, Oregon versus Washington. Washington won by a missed field goal by Oregon, 36-33, putting Washington to the top of the Pac-12 conference. Not only that, but USC, part of the Pac-12, well, you know, they did not represent. And once again, 3 weeks in a row, they give up over 40 points. They go down to Notre Dame, 48-20. And Oregon State, after suffering a loss from Washington State, they went ahead and took care of business against UCLA, 36-24. Man, that was fantastic. DJ Uiagalelei just representing over there, right? Other surprises that I didn't see coming. Louisville, which I spoke highly about, moving up to the rankings. They made it to the top 25 for the first time last week. And they end up stumbling against Pittsburgh 38-21. So much for Louisville trying to represent the ACC. Oklahoma State upset Kansas 39-32. Missouri upsets Kentucky 38-21. Is it really an upset, or is it Mizzou? Pretty much we didn't know much about them, and they're riding high at 6-1, 2-1 in the SEC. And lastly, Washington State. Man, I don't know what happened to that team. They threw donuts for the last 3 quarters of the game. Arizona handling business 44-6. Wow. How about that, right? And I got the Brian Kelly look on this one, but this time it has nothing to do with any bloopers. It's just a lot of concerns of, what's going on? Frustrated Shane Beamer broke his foot after South Carolina lost this last weekend. Wow. It must have been that painful of a loss that he went to go ahead and broke his foot. Oh, man. Look, if you're going to do that in South Carolina, you might as well just pack your bags and go somewhere else and coach another team. Just saying. Undefeated Air Force, who made it to the top 25 from the longest, even though I had them twice in a row. They lose their quarterback, Zach Luria, for a while, and he's dealing with some injuries himself. And that's a concern because they're going against Navy this weekend, and that's a start for the Commanders Cup. Georgia's Brock Bowers, man, he just had surgery for his high ankle sprain. Technically, whatever procedures that they have for him, they're saying that it might take not so long to recover. And that's pretty crazy how technologies and the tools that the doctors use and everything else. But he could be back within a month. But normally it might take up to 2 months for a safe recovery. They're saying he could come back sooner. And the sooner the better, because man, it's bad timing. Things are getting a little hectic with Georgia and their schedule. We'll talk about that later. And Iowa's Eric All has a torn ACL. He is going to be out for the season. That's still a major blow for Iowa because they lost their starting quarterback in McNamara, who was a transfer from Michigan. More injuries are piling up for Iowa. So if I was a betting man, I'll be careful choosing Iowa, especially that they're in the top of the division with Wisconsin in the Big Ten West Conference. All right, so in that division. So please be careful on that. And lastly, Colorado coach Deion Sanders making headlines again. This time he wrote a book, and it was set to be released in 2024. That's right, 2024 release date, soon to happen. Curious as to what did he author about? Just saying. Second down, here we go. College football playoffs, baby. And we're going to start with my top 25 week 8. And again, if you tune into all 4 downs on Sunday, I always make mine before the AP and the coaches poll. So I just go with the flow with my own eye test. And right now, 21-25, Iowa, Tulane, James Madison, USC, and Miami from Ohio. James Madison undefeated, man. You got to give him mad respect in the Sun Belt Conference. Iowa 6-1 coming up, but with injuries, how long will they last there? That's a major concern. From 16-20, Oregon, Mizzou, Liberty, Utah, and Air Force. Mad respect there. I like Air Force, but man, they are also suffering through some injuries. Can they handle business against Navy? I think they can, but I just can't wait till they play Army. 11-15, Ole Miss, Texas, Notre Dame, Duke, and Tennessee. 7-10, Oregon State, Alabama, Penn State, and North Carolina. And for my top 6 teams, from 5 and 6, I got Washington Huskies. I got the Florida State Seminoles. I like these two. And I got a feeling one of these two, of course, is going to make it, depending on Florida State, how they do against Duke this weekend. But for Washington, they too have a hard schedule because they're playing 4 more top 25 teams before the season's over. Okay. And they got 6 games left. So there's a major concern. Can they handle business? Okay. Because look, at number 4, I got Oklahoma. Well deserved. They're beating Texas. They're coming back from a bye week. So let's see how they perform. Ohio State, big game this weekend against Penn State. Michigan. And of course, yours truly, Georgia. Another concern because they relied on Brock Bowers, the tight end. Who else is stepping up? It's always the next man up. So can Kirby Smart handle business? They got a bye week this week. So they got plenty of time to study hard because they got Florida in their rivalry the following week. And here's my comparisons to the AP and the coaches poll. We all agree that Georgia and Michigan are the top 2 teams. But for Georgia, their schedule is going to get a little bit harder down the stretch. Not so much for Michigan because the only competition they have technically is Penn State, depending on what they do this weekend. And, of course, they got to play Ohio State the last game of the season. And looking in, I mean, everyone, AP, they got Florida State in the top 4. I don't see it. They kind of like up and down, mediocre type deal, right? So, surprising Oregon still in the top 10 for the AP. And for the coaches poll, having Texas, Alabama tied and the 8. I don't know. I mean, Alabama's improving while we haven't seen much improvement yet from Texas. And of course, they came from bye week. Can they handle business here on out? That's the big difference maker there. And we're talking about schedules. So let's look at this because Georgia comes back from a bye week. They play Florida. A rivalry game is a rivalry game. It doesn't matter if you're ranked or not. Hey, they still play hard. Then you got Mizzou, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, 3 top 25 teams. How can the Bulldogs handle business there before they end their season against their other rivalry, Georgia Tech? Michigan, look like they're going to breeze through their schedule. They got Penn State in 3 weeks, and then they finish with Ohio State. it seems like a norm for the Big Ten because the only rely on really on two teams, Ohio State and Michigan. And Penn State, they always flirt with Penn State to try to rank them, but they just don't have enough to get by these two teams. Can Penn State make a difference? That's the big question. We'll find out this weekend. Ohio State, we already mentioned their first game, but look, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Michigan State, Minnesota. I mean, these are teams that Ohio State normally beats, right? Can they go to Michigan and beat Michigan? Rondé's always having troubles for some odd reason. And then Oklahoma, look at them. They could breeze right through, but Big 12 is still unpredictable. Regardless of who's ranked or not, that conference is still unpredictable. Moving on to Washington. Look, I mean, I think Washington of everybody has the hardest schedule because after they finish with Arizona State and Stanford, they got USC, Utah, and Oregon State, and then finish with the battle and Washington State. Florida State playing Duke this weekend, but look, if you look at the rest, this should be winnable. And the rivalry with Florida at the end, that should be a difference maker there. The Beavers, Oregon State, awesome. But the last two games, they play Washington and then Oregon. Wow, that's all I got to say. That's a great finish to see who's going to be in the top four. And Alabama, they're playing Tennessee. Then they play LSU. They lost to LSU last year and LSU, right? Then they play Kentucky, a bye week game before they play Auburn. And again, I don't know why they play Chattanooga. They could play anybody else, but they play Chattanooga. It is what it is, but that must be an Alabama thing, okay? But they play ranked Tennessee, and we'll talk about that more on my prediction because that's one of them. But would it be the first time Alabama lose twice at home? Just saying. All right, moving on to third down. It's college football betting, and here we go. Talk about Alabama, okay? They've never lost twice in a season at home, okay? They've lost twice. The most that Nick Saban lost with Alabama is 3, okay? But never at home. They usually lose one game at home, okay? And then they win the rest. Here we are again. They lost to Texas at home. Will they lose again? And I'm going to tell you right now, it is not going to happen, okay? Nick Saban has never lost twice at home in a season. And the last time Tennessee's won in Alabama was October 25th, 2003. Just saying. My prediction, I won't be surprised if Alabama wins 41-27. You know, everyone's out predicting like 2 ranked teams. Oh, this is going to be awesome. I just got a gut feeling, man. Alabama's going to go to town with Tennessee. And the fans are going to go crazy. Look, the spread is at 9.5. So why not make that bold prediction, expanding a little bit? The over-under is 49. I'm taking over 49 on that one. The next ranked game you got is Duke versus Florida State. Duke, surprising 5-1, 2-0 in ACC. Florida State, undefeated, 6-0, 4-0 overall, right? And within the conference. But they got the Seminoles favored at 14 points. Yeah, 14 points. And on top of that, Florida State is 19-0 versus Duke. I'm just going to pick it. Florida State is going to win. And Duke, see ya. Duke will be out of the top 25 should they lose this game. Utah versus USC. This one is going to be hard to predict because USC got no defense, but Utah have no offense. I mean, look, what's going on over there? I don't got big news of Cam Rising ever returning, but should he return, would it be back to normal? Will Utah put up the points? USC's favorite 6.5, and that's the reason why. But I'm still not liking USC's defense, and no matter how hard USC score those points, that defense always finds a way to let the game go. 3 weeks in a row, they allowed their opponent to score over 40 points. They're coming from a loss against Notre Dame. I'm sorry to tell you, but I disagree with the 6.5 favorite for USC. I'm taking Utah to win this game by a small margin. Oklahoma State versus West Virginia. Another top game. This is a Big 12 matchup. Records are neck to neck, 4-2, 2-1. West Virginia's favorite, and I agree. I am definitely going for West Virginia. I know Oklahoma State is making that win streak, but West Virginia has a better defense, better passing defense, and I think that's going to be a difference maker. I predict West Virginia to have at least 2 turnovers to help them win this game. All right, here we go. Toledo and Miami. Yes, I understand. Like, what? What's going on? Yeah, we're talking about the MAC. Toledo and Miami. Toledo's favored by 2. I'm sticking with Toledo. I like this team, and I got this team winning this conference all the way. So give me Toledo. Clemson versus Miami. This would have been great, right? I mean, if you look at it, both teams are 4-2, but if you look at the conference, Clemson has more games because they're 2-2. Miami seems to put their foot in their mouths and some odd reason just jack it up. And we all know the laughable stock, right, of not taking a knee. They're going to take a knee in this. Yes, they're going to take a knee and allow Clemson to run all over them. That's right. They're going to surrender. I got Clemson winning this game. Penn State versus Ohio State, the game of the week. This is the most watched. Is at 12. This should be prime time game, but eventually it's on Fox at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ohio State's favored by 4 points. It might be 4 points within the first half, but I got a feeling in the second half, Ohio State is going to pull away. And I just don't trust Penn State. They got to prove me wrong. Penn State has played nobody. They got 6 wins against teams that really don't got no potential of, I don't know, being bowl eligible or even close to becoming college football. I mean, playoffs, nothing. There's just nothing going on. And Penn State's blowing all this team out. But it's a rude awakening because they're going to play Ohio State. And Ohio State's getting better and better each week. Not as great as they used to be. But I just got a feeling that we're wasting our time ranking Penn State in the top 10. And that's my picks, man. That's my picks. Going on 4th down, the final whistle. And listen, wow. I know Joe will probably have so much to talk to you about coaches, players, and everything else. But I'm going to say something a little bit different to something before I sign out. And here we go. Players, coaches, Daniil, everything else that is situated to make your team. And I got a message. You know, coaches, they come and go. They go for the money and everything else. And people forget about pride, about being in one organization and everything else. The world's changed. And I overheard on the radio, on ESPN radio, on the show about, it's geared towards the Texas A&M Aggies, about how players are coming and going, they're leaving, blah, blah, blah. You know, players don't care. They only care about Instagram and social media and everything else. And you're right. It's all about popularity. It's about how you make your money. And people are complaining that they don't have pride, that don't stay in one place and everything else. Before you make that argument, let's take a look at what started the whole thing. Coaches, committees, the NCAA are not regulating. They only care about certain schools, certain obligations, certain rules about eligibility and stuff like that, but they don't care about anything else outside that window. Then you got coaches that go for the money too. Look at Lincoln Riley. He was fine in Oklahoma every year, conference champion. And then he jumped and left to USC. Why? Because they gave him more money, more leverage, but yet he still can't have a great defense. Okay? And let's not get it twisted, because Nick Saban's with Alabama, but you already know he was with LSU before. You know he went to the NFL to coach. He quit in the NFL to go to Alabama. More money. Everybody's looking for that money, and so will the players. And you're always going to have that drama when those students don't have a starting position. They're going to go elsewhere. And you're right. Coaches need to do better. This, and that. No. They're doing it too. So let's stop complaining about players, about pride, being in one organization because that's all went out the window. And it's going to take a while to fix it. And you know who it is? You know who's putting it on the platform? Is the one that's always getting hated on. And that is Deion Sanders. Exploiting everything that's going on in college football. And he's putting it in your face. And people are getting mad. It is what it is. So listen. Don't hate it. Don't hate. Don't hate the player. Hate the game. Ain't that what they usually say? Yeah. Anyways, it is what it is. But that's all. That's all I got. Thank you for watching All Four Downs. Until next week, hopefully Joe will be back. Let's enjoy some football, shall we? Because it's going to be great. Absolutely. Take care, everyone.